Hi, I'm Leathur Rokk. This is Garfield, and I'm about to bleach my roots. I got this stuff. You've seen me do it. I got my bleaching powder. I got my 30 volume peroxide. This is the Clairol Pure White. I got my rubber gloves. I got a measuring bowl, and it's made of glass. It's a measuring cup, rather. I have a glass bowl. Glass is very important. I have a spoon, and it's made of plastic. And that's really great because you never want to touch metal to your bleaches. You notice I took all my jewelry off. The only thing I have is my nose ring and this ring here that I can take off, but it's a real pain in the ass. And it's not going to interfere with any of this because I'm going to be using rubber gloves. You can skip the rubber glove thing. For years I did, because one good thing about not using rubber gloves is you can tell what's dry as opposed to what's wet. But the only thing is that, especially if you're only using 20 volume isn't as strong, and it gives you more time to do your partings and to do your application. I did 20 volume. I started with 20 volume, but I ended up switching to 30 volume. It takes a lot quicker, but you have to be quicker with your application. But if you're real experienced, and if you already know that your hair gets stuck in the red stages before it goes to the pale lemon yellow or whatever it is that you're trying to lighten it to. And remember, just because you have naturally light hair, or if you have gray or white hair, you still need to do a white bleaching application because your hair is naturally resistant. If you want to use a lighter toner, or if you want to use those semi-permanent vegetable-based dyes, which actually are better than the permanent versions for many reasons, which I will get into in future videos. Besides personal experience, because you have to watch the timing very carefully with those videos. But you need to have porous enough hair in order for these dyes to stain the shaft and the imbricals, which your hair, once you apply a bleach to it, it makes these scales that it doesn't penetrate to the cuticle layer. These dyes, it's just not possible to penetrate to that level. But you will stain the outside of your hair enough, and it's roughened up enough to make it a bit more porous so that the dyes penetrate better and they last a little longer, but they're still only going to last so long. Anyway, enough of the talk. Oh yeah, if you can hear, there's a bit of a fan going on here. Now, I don't want the dust from this to be floating around. It's important, if you see lumps, feel lumps, just squeeze them so they're crushed, so that you don't have to break it apart when it's in the bowl. This has a full one, and this is what was left over from an old one. You know what? It's probably not a good idea. When you have two different batches, it's generally not wise to mix them. Just like I had 2 bottles of this bleach, this peroxide, and I chose the heavier one because that suggests to me the heavier one is fresher. That particular beauty supply closed where I bought that. So, and the thing is, today, the day that I'm filming this, is a Sunday morning. The other beauty supply place, it's actually closer to where I live, they're closed on Sundays. So it would have been impossible for me to get an absolute fresh bottle of peroxide. And you need your peroxide to be fresh enough so that it has bubbles, because if it doesn't react, then your bleaching is not going to work, or it's going to take a real long time. And that's not something we have the luxury of right now, because I want to be able to get in the bathroom and do this while I can. So I'm going to lift this up here so I can see you better. Now, the directions in this say that each scoop can go in either 1.5 ounces or 2.5 ounces of your 30 volume. And I got to think about how much roots I have. You want to look at my hair. I got roots for days. I got some serious roots. Look at all this. So you're thinking, I got to be able to go to here each side. So, because I don't like having to stretch out my bleach with adding more peroxide. And another thing I have to worry about, because we don't have air conditioning, my face, I'm already starting to sweat. And if you're moist where your hair is supposed to be bone dry before you put any of these things on. And I don't want it to not make the bleaching thing work. So, and that's the reason why I can't turn this fan on. I can't. As it is, I feel a dampness here. That's not good. Matter of fact, I should get a blow dryer to deal with that. I really should. Yay! Isn't this good? And let's see, I have a choice of outlets, but we don't have quite enough outlets for this place, so you just unplug what you don't really need. Now, I'm gonna have to pull out the coffee maker because this can only be put in one way. It's kind of annoying with those, those plugs or run prongs bigger than another, and it can only fit in one way. And that can sometimes mean that you might not have room for your other things unless you're plugging into a power strip. Okay, I think I better keep that plugged in. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Okay, you know what? I should get God, tone. Hold that thought. Use my mother's phone. All right. Plastic cone. And I have a mirror. So, want to see how I film? See my laptop? Okay. Now, here I go. I like to do the perimeter of my hair first, but I have to measure out some peroxide. And I hope this. Okay, I'm going to start off with 5 ounces. 2.5 and 2.5 ounces. 5 ounces. Okay, looks like that's what I have left. Is a scant 5 ounces. going to take this, pour it into here. I'll probably use a rubber spatula and get all of this out, because you don't want it to dry out during the application. If it's not moist, the oxygen bubbles can't be released and it can't do what it needs to do. So I can start with scoops. This, in these you actually get level, and this stuff has a consistency of powdered sugar. Put this here so it doesn't get airborne. You don't want to do this in front of the fan. Never want to do that. Never want to do it in front of your beverages. Shouldn't have your mouth open, shouldn't be breathing. Now, it said you can put one scoop in 1.5 ounces or 2.5 ounces. And I'm not doing off scalp application. I am doing it on the scalp. When you do it on the scalp, there's more chance of irritation. And also, there's directions for if you're doing it inside or if you're doing outside where there's total ventilation. Well, I'm doing indoors and there's no ventilation except for that window there has a screen. Now, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to do it carefully so that you don't get wafts of dust. I could have been wearing a mask to do this, actually. Once it gets mixed, the fumes can't technically hurt you, but that said, if you don't have enough fresh air, you can still get sick to your stomach and get a little dizzy, and that happened to me the last time I did this. And I think I may have been, I was doing it live, and I got a lot of people concerned, so this is not a live stream, this is just a standalone video, but I intend to post it shortly after I filmed it. And there's going to have to be a part 2 to this, because I'm going to, once this is all mixed up, I'm going to have to let it sit in my hair until my hair lightens up properly. So, and that can take anywhere from 25 minutes to 50-55 minutes. The directions say it shouldn't be any more than 55 minutes. But you have to really pay attention. And I'm always afraid I'm going to leave the stuff on too long. You know, if there's any more that I don't get, I'll just use a rubber glove. Okay, now I am doing a bit of a freshness check on that stuff right now. I'm not feeling any kind of burn at all on my hand. You know, I'm not expecting a burn, but a little tingle I might expect. But because I have a ring on that finger, I don't want that contacting that. Now, just in case, I'm going to grab the other bottle. There. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to shake it once or twice to give bubbles a chance to form. See, I don't hear anything with this either. But I'm going to pour some of this. You see what I'm doing? Just in case there's no fizz in that stuff. Not here. Because I don't want my stuff to go to waste. I'm going to pour some extra. You see that? Now, I remember this. I'm absolutely contradicting what I just said earlier about not mixing batches that one's older than the other. But in a case where one doesn't show any signs of being reactive, and you certainly want the bubbles to form and you want the oxidation to happen, which is how bleaching process happens. If there's no fizz in the peroxide, it's not going to do anything with the powder. The powder can last a long time as long as you keep it airtight, sealed up. You know, I tie this in the knot and then I put it in that container. I put it in that container and then it's airtight there. So there's no reason for these to not last 5, 6 years even though you usually do this to your hair. If you're lazy like me, you do this at least twice a year. When your hair is in cornrow braids, unless you did such a perfectly even job, and actually it would be much safer for somebody else to do it, and they could apply the bleach exactly where your virgin hair is sticking out, you know, your roots. But you can't overlap. And the thing is, with the braiding, there is so much of a propensity for virgin hair to be under some braids, and so you miss it when you're applying the dye. So I can see dip dyeing braids with a toner, and I don't even mean something that has peroxide in it, because things can get stuck in the inside of braids and not rinse out fully, or not get exposed to the air fully. Vegetable-based dyes that you can dip, yes, you can do that. But be aware that just because you wash your hair doesn't mean your hair won't still fade. That's something I learned. Okay, I want to get out as many of the lumps as possible. I hope there's some fizz in this. Didn't have time to do, they always recommend you doing a patch test first, or doing a strand test and all that, but I just wanted to go and get this done. Okay, one more time. I want to hit myself with the dryer. Hold air. Hold air. Hold air. Yes, I want cold air. Oh. Alright, I'm going to try to do this quickly. It is now 7:20 in the morning. I soaked myself up with the sunscreen before I did this because the sun is streaming in that way. I loaded myself up with this, and I want to tell you something. I really don't care for the sunscreen. I'll tell you why. One of the things I love about my favorite sunscreens is they have a white cast. They help to blend in my freckles. They help to even out my skin tone, and they act like a foundation makeup for me that, unlike so many foundation makeups, soak in and accentuate wherever your skin crease, so it makes you look like you have wrinkles that you don't even have. And that's the one thing that I don't like about some foundations, unless you do a real light hand. Well, the white face foundations, the white face sunblocks are really great for me because they're like a foundation. This goes on totally clear, so it does nothing for the look of my skin. But it is a sunscreen, and I got it for free. So, and I put this all over my arms and my face, so that when the sun comes at me here, I am not going to get in trouble with the sun. Okay, now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look in the mirror, just so you see. This mirror is right over here, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I want to give myself a center part, roughly, and I'm just using my finger for that. And I'm gonna, let's see, I could do this. This is very thin. See, this is too thin to really, that's the problem with doing spoons. But if you do your finger, it's going to drip, you see. And this is supposed to be a cream peroxide as opposed to a clear peroxide. The advantages of clear peroxide is you can use those squeezy bottles. Now what I'm doing is I'm roughly doing a mohawk down the center of my scalp, okay? I'm doing this, and I'm just, because I have so many roots on either side, I'm going all the way to here, okay? You know how a lot of times the directions say you do your hair in a quadrant? Now, I like to do the perimeter around my scalp. That helps to make up for the fact that I sweat. And when you sweat, you dilute the product that you're putting on your hair. But, of course, I'm going to sweat due to the, lack of air conditioning. So, by doing my perimeter of my scalp, my front and the back, that's almost impossible to overlap your pre-lightened hair. You do your roots right there. You also, it makes up for me for the back of my head. Oh, you also don't forget to go around your ears. Just, do a perimeter. Imagine your scalp is like the crust of a big pie. And you know how you do the perfect, however the measurement is, if it's a half an inch or it's an inch or whatever, it's the same all the way around. Now think of your scalp as a pie. And I'm going around the ears. I go around. Even though I can't see it, I can feel. And so where I'm naturally going to be sweating because the hair's back there, well, now this will make up for that at least, because that's where the sweat is. Okay. Now another thing I could do while I'm back here, I'm going to make a part back there, kind of, sort of. And I'm going to just sort of like if I was trying to part my hair to do cornrow braids. And I take this bleach that I have in my hand, and I just do it to imaginary rows that I'm doing that are parallel to the skin behind my ears. Now your scalp can tell you a lot about the timing and the freshness of the peroxide too. And you know what? This is not bad peroxide. I'm feeling just a little something, just a little tingle on my scalp. That tells me that the bubbles are in there. That means the peroxide is still good. A lot of times, one of my tests is I just put something on some bare skin and I wait to see the white bubbles, and I usually see the white bubbles depending on the kind of peroxide it is. Like the peroxide that you use for your first aid kit, that you'll see bubbles pretty much right away. But this is a different kind of peroxide. It's not meant for first aid. Okay. Now, this is where I have to pay attention. I have to start, okay, I did a center thing. Now I have to go approximately, I like to do an inch and a half, because since this is such a loose, liquidy thing, and this runs, so you can actually do thicker partings. And of course, when you're dealing with a real runny bleach thing, you want to make sure that you're wearing things that you don't mind getting a lightener put on them. So I wouldn't wear anything it's tie-dyed or anything bright or whatever. okay, if I didn't want to hold my head like this, but I wanted to make sure that none of this was running into my eye, so I have to be careful about that. And now it's time to start doing the other side. I gotta push this back more. There. One thing, the drain's been going down in the where the bathtub is. I've been having to go down there to rinse out some large items of clothing, like sweatpants, for instance. I don't like to use this sink right now because we're missing a certain O-ring or something that would make the spray not so spray, not the spray thing, but the faucet itself. And so as a result, unless I have the water on very low pressure, it splashes too much, and I end up giving myself a shower that wasn't the kind I was planning on. Okay, this is so brainy. I really think I got the application. I gotta be real careful not to get it on my length. And sometimes I actually put a conditioning treatment on my length so the stuff doesn't drip down. I can feel some fumes. Again, that's proof that there's at least some chemical reaction going. With any luck, I'll be able to rinse this out, and then I will be able to debut this out and about, and that will be where my part two, I don't think is going to be in the house. It's going to be outside, so I can do a little show and tell. Let me rinse my hand again. Oh, Garfield has been trying to and succeeding in sleep on the floor of the little bathroom, and that floor was really dirty. There was a time or two where the toilet absolutely overflowed and whatever, and all that disgusting. You use your own imagination. Well, I just mopped it a couple hours ago, and I've been waiting I used Dawn dish detergent, and I rinsed out the mop several times, and I scrubbed, not on my hands and knees, but with the mop, and I rinsed it a handful of times. And I'm waiting it for it to dry all the way before I let Garfield go in there. But I'm going to put a clean pillowcase on the floor in front of the toilet, which is where he seems to be. And I hope the heck he takes a hint and goes on that to curl up, and not on the carpet near where the litter box is, because that's scuzzy. Just like, bathrooms, I don't think of them as being clean areas, but I still want him to be laying down in clean areas, just like I played him down on an old towel in my room on this floor here so that he could be on a clean floor. I'm going to plug this in here. So, I'm going to keep this on until I see some kind of lightning going on. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to just do the timing, and it is now 7:32. I'm going to check back in about a half hour, and then on the directions say to wait about 55 minutes. I'm not going to just keep this video looking at this the whole time, but my next video is going to be my showing you what the roots look like. And my plan is not head to toe blonde. My plan is very, 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 very pale roots, so that my hair can accept all the purple dyes that I'm going to be putting in. What I'm doing right now is I'm encouraging, see, some people make the mistake of they put the dye or the bleach in their hair and they just flatten it out. But no, by doing this, I'm encouraging air to contact this. And you know what? I still have a little bit of that stuff in the bowl. If anything starts to dry out, I'm going to go and put some more. If this starts to feel dry, or if I feel that there's any spots that I might have missed, but because I did right away the first thing, the big strip in the middle, this here, around there, that was to try to not miss things. I'm hoping the runniness of this mixture will make sure I didn't miss things while not overlapping, because that's what causes hair breakage. You have to be so careful about that. I don't want breaking off my hair, and almost every time I do it, I'm afraid that I'm risking doing that, because there's a lot of times when I don't give it enough timing, and I still get some brassy streaks some places in it, and that usually can be covered up by dye. But then when the dye fades on it, then you end up with this blah faded section, and I don't want that either. And I sure don't want to wait 48 hours after going blonde and going and just retouching those areas that are still dark, because that'll mean that I'm stuck not being able to put my purple dye in for even a more couple of days, and I don't want to do that. I'm really impatient to put my purple in and look what I think is real good, then put the cornrow braids in, put different colored beads in, then start doing some of these Trump events that are happening, and there's things that I'm looking forward to. I just have to find out the dates. You know, I want to show some real rad stuff. Okay, another good sign. I'm feeling a bit of a tingle. I'm feeling it in my fingers. You see, I don't have gloves, so I have nothing to protect me, right? So, but I want to be aware. My scalp is feeling just a little something. And that's good. That means that the timing is starting. It might not look like anything now, but there's going to be a real platinum white look, even more white than platinum, because it's going to start looking foamy. And when the hair looks as white as the foam, and it doesn't just look yellow, but the first stage is a brightening of this yellow look. And in the back, now one of the things I was thinking of doing is processing my hair with neutral henna after I rinse and wash the bleach out, and then putting the purple dye in, because the henna gives the dye more something to grab onto, and I was thinking maybe that would moisturize and thicken the hair in the very back of my head near my neck. It seems to fade out right away, and it's really kind of annoying that hair doesn't retain the dye, and I'm thinking maybe if I process it with henna, then the purple dye will last longer. But then again, one of the things I don't like about this henna is if you sleep in it, it dries to a sand, and you get sand in the bed, and it's just pretty, and that's just really sucks. And that's the whole thing, is that it's like, yeah, it feels like sand. You just can't wait to get in the shower. But in order for it to do its thing, you want it to be in between 20 minutes and an hour. The color that I'm using doesn't have a color. It would only just be used for the texture and the shine. But it also could impart a dry feeling. That's one thing that hennas can do. But then again, the purple dyes that I use, they have a lot of conditioning agents in them, plus the vegetable-based bright colors. So they are actually good for the hair. They're very moisturizing. And as long as you keep an airtight plastic bag on them so that they don't dry out, and you're soaking moisturizing and dyes in, But you gotta make it porous first, and that's what this stuff is I'm doing right here. That's really important. If you want to dye somebody's beard and it's gray, you gotta do this first before you put the colors in. You always have to start with this step. Unless the only look you're going for is like a highlighted look that's not going to last. It's really, or if you have a legitimate reason for avoiding coloring your roots. Like, look what I did when I still had braids in my hair, and I obviously couldn't do anything about the roots because I couldn't, those braids, well, half the braids I had in were dreading up, and they were really, would have been a real challenge to undo, and that's why I ended up letting these roots go as long as I did. See, this doesn't feel like it's doing anything at all. I'm going to go back and get some more of that bleach. I'm going to put it back up here so that doesn't dry out. I'll be right back. Okay. But just a little bit more. They always recommend you don't do what I'm about to do, but I'm doing it anyway. See, this is what they mean by on scalp application. This is definitely on the scalp. Yeah. There's so many times I put this stuff on and I miss a spot, and it's obvious because you have some red sticking out, you know? Okay. Okay, now I'm going to wash these hands off. I'll try to make it quick. Oh, found this. Rinse that off too. Okay. Alright, I did. Another thing that they really do not recommend you doing. You saw that I had hands that had that bleachy stuff on my hands, and yet I picked this off the ground. And this looks like metal. This is actually a plastic lipstick case that I'm sure has some metal to it, but this is, I bought it because it looks like a cat. And it actually has this lipstick on it, and it had fallen on the ground, and while I was going to wash my hands, I figured I'd pick it up anyway, and I just did that to illustrate a point. But really, metal and these chemicals do not mix. So, and it's now 7:41 a.m. So, now I'm wondering if I should allow a little bit more time for this timing, since this is older peroxide. It's not, if this were really, really, really fresh, it would have started tingling a lot sooner. When I put my fingers in the mixture, it did not react for quite a while. That was kind of a bad sign. Because, you know, I think I've invested time in doing this. I've already used 2 scoops of those powders, and I noticed the cost keeps on getting higher and higher through the years, and the containers get smaller and smaller. Oh, now I feel this stuff on my earlobe. But I'm going to have to wait for this timing. I'm going to bring the mirror into here. Now, Garfield's taken to be in the closet where all the cleaning products are. Okay, I want to make sure I don't have anything dripping in my eye. Oh, it looks like it's close to it. So, let me get a wet washcloth. Okay, this is an unusual water dish, but guess what? The last thing you want to do is risk blindness by getting this stuff in your eyes. So, yeah. Matter of fact, I'm going to wipe here. And earlobe where it was burning. Now I want to make sure I didn't wipe any bleach off here. Because it's important to cover any of the wispies that get here, lighten them up. It looks more finished, you know? Oh, 7:45 and I hear somebody blasting some kind of music. What could this be? Can you believe this? There are two people that are outside and they are actually doing this to people that are trying to sleep. Okay, I'm going to show you something. This is the kind of neighborhood I live in. This is 7:45 in the morning. Okay. Here. You won't believe this. I want you to look at what these neighbors are doing. Okay. All right. I guess I have to do it out my window. I can't believe this. People that absolutely have no problem with doing this in a neighborhood. I can't believe this. You know what? Maybe I have to do it from this other window that stays open. Oh. Yeah. Okay. I want you to look at this. I hope you saw that. This is just out of control. This is 7:47 in the morning. You have people doing this, regardless of how the people who live here feel. Yeah, this is just really, I don't know, they think they're doing a Rokk video or something. They think it's okay to disturb people. I don't live in the neighborhood. This is unreal. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna try to lift this up. Look at what they're doing. Anyway, I'm gonna do a timing, and when this is done, you're gonna see what the blonde on the roots look like. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I think somebody's offended. Oh wow. Get out of my neighborhood, bitches. Bye.